Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast. We are back to be the bridge to the sci-fi and fantasy world.
Just back to the bridge.
We care about back to the bridge. Back to the bridge basics. Finish the bridge. Finish the fight.
Oh gosh. I was thinking more Back to the Future, like Back to the Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Bridge 2, Electric Boogaloo.
We're going. We don't need bridges.
Whoa. That's our whole thing.
I know. That's the sequel podcast. What would that be called, though? It would be Unbridge? It's an Unbridge.
Umbridge from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's just about her.
Just roasting and talking about the hatred for Umbridge.
She's awful.
Yeah. Well,
welcome back, everybody. Episode...
Banter achieved.
2 after our long break.
Yes. The reborn. The Phoenix.
Yes. The Bridge Reborn.
Yeah, so we're doing episode 2. We have some books to talk about.
We could probably consider this like season 2, right? This is like season.
Technically, we should consider it season 3 because I just made an arbitrary decision to make it season 2 at some point.
All right, fair enough. Season 3.
We could just make it season 2. But I think we have an episode that's literally called season 2.
Let's just make it really confusing then. All right, season 2.
The real season 2. Like, are you with ourselves? Like, they were lying to you. You can trust us, though.
No, you can't trust us.
You can trust the future version of us, just not the past version.
But until 14 episodes from now, we're like, all right, this is season 2.
Yeah, that wasn't season 2. Right. Yeah. So tell me something, like 1 to 2 things, sci-fi fantasy that you want to share.
I have
Listen to your heart.
I have unfortunately not done much of anything except for play World of Warcraft.
Okay. That's one thing. So
I have been playing a lot of World of Warcraft at night when there's something else to do.
What's that what is the World of Warcraft called?
Azeroth.
So you've been going to Azeroth.
I've been going to Azeroth. Well, there's a few other like worlds, but
okay.
Like Draenor and
Could you go to those worlds?
Mm-hmm. And the expansions, yeah. Those are all expansion stuff. But the main world that you're on is Azeroth, which is actually like a being. That's part of the part of the that's part of the lore. Is the planet itself is like it's got a thing called a world soul, and it can turn into
soul. Mm-hmm. And turn into a transformer like Unicron.
No, they become these things called Titans, and basically the galaxy is the Titans are the good guys, and they're roaming the galaxy trying to find more world souls like them to become Titans. And then that's kind of like I think that's becoming a main point in these later expansions is Azeroth is finally like awakening, I guess, because basically they're like dreaming, they're sleeping in a sense, and they're supposed to awaken.
That's what creates all life is their dreams. Or something?
No,
oh.
I think the Titans came and created life on Azeroth. They like transformed different planets.
But no, so now Azeroth can turn into a Titan potentially.
I guess. Honestly, I'm still very, very new to the lore.
And then life will cease.
No, I don't think so. I think she'll just become this like god entity type thing. I think it's a she.
Don't misgender Azeroth.
It might be a he. I don't know. I always assumed Azeroth was a she. Sounds like a she name.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Maybe I'm also just biased because Earth is considered Mother Earth. So any planet is just kind of a she.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mothership.
Anyway, the lore is pretty extensive for World of Warcraft, which I guess makes sense because it's like a 20-year-old game.
Right.
But
doesn't make sense.
That's probably been the more fun part for me is learning more about the lore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I picked up the basically I finished with Stormlight Archive and all the Cosmere stuff, so I had to find a new fantasy world to jump into. Right. World of Warcraft ended up being it. But
because you're like read some, or have you read the books, or you just want to?
I've read some of the books. Okay. I've listened to them. I'm audiobooking them.
That's reading.
It is. I consider it reading. Listening.
So does Goodreads.
Well, I don't ever put it on Goodreads.
I noticed that.
If I listen to it, because I technically listened to like 3 books this year. Because I finished.
It's more than me.
I just finished the latest one. But I haven't been doing much reading either. I've been really just struggling with anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I have been playing World of Warcraft. That's been fun. I've been playing it with my brother too.
Yeah.
And it's just been fun to get involved in that world and the lore. Like I said, they have this like they were released not too long ago, but these like what they call World of Warcraft Chronicles, and they basically go through like the history of the world and the different stuff and like the lore basically.
Uh-huh.
And instead of it being like an actual like narrative book, it's more of like almost like a textbook, but like it's told in like story form, sort of. I just finished the first one, which basically takes it from the beginning of the cosmos to the start of what's considered the First War.
Okay.
Or just prior to the First War starting, which is the First War in World of Warcraft is like basically the Warcraft games that were made prior to. The first game is the First War, and it's basically when the orcs came into Azeroth and were fighting with the humans before all the lore was created. But the orcs actually don't come from Azeroth. They come somewhere else, a different planet.
Different world.
Draenor. And actually the book I just finished called Rise of the Horde is about how they became bad. Because they're technically not bad people. They're not a bad race, they're corrupted.
From my point of view.
From my point of view, the humans are evil.
You are lost.
But that's been good. And other than that, I've just been doing a lot of drawing. Well, wanting to do a lot of drawing.
Okay.
And I have been drawing a little bit, but not much. I'm back in the mode of school and work, so it's been hard to sit down and do anything else. And if I do, it's usually just playing World of Warcraft with my brother or whatever. So
you're not just you're not just playing.
No, I have recorded. There's 3 different World of Warcrafts out right now, kind of. You have retail version, which is basically where the game's at right now with the latest expansion, which is Dragonflight. You have World of Warcraft Classic, which is your basic vanilla initial making of the game, how it was. And then what they're doing with that is they're doing like these things called I guess different types of seasons, but right now they're in a thing called Season of Discovery, which basically revamps some of the gameplay, adds a couple of new skills through things called runes that you have to find or discover. But they have it blocked out into phases, so each phase has a level cap. So like phase 1 level cap was 25. Like the normal level cap for the game is 60.
Right.
But phase 1 was capped at 25, and they turned one of the dungeons into a raid. And that's like that was like maybe 2 months long. And then
what is the difference between a dungeon and a raid? Like practically, as far as gameplay goes.
World of Warcraft dungeons are 5-man party groups.
Okay.
And it's a smaller, usually less bosses, and it's smaller and easier usually because it can be done with 5 people. You usually run through 4 or 5 bosses depending on the dungeon. And then whereas a raid is like a high level, usually I think in Classic it's usually 10-man raids. And a lot more mechanics to deal with. The bosses are a lot harder. I mean, when I say mechanics, I mean like not just like whacking away the person and like someone tanking and someone healing. I mean like sometimes the boss will stop and you can't even attack them and you have to like dodge certain mechanics that are he's gonna put out, like certain AoE stuff or whatever. So it makes it harder, and they're usually pretty long.
Okay. So they amped up the difficulty.
Basically, they amped up one of the dungeons. So for phase 2, phase 1, they amped up a dungeon called Black Fathom Deeps that I think initially had 4 bosses, maybe 3, and it now has I think 1, 2, 3, 6 bosses technically.
Cool.
And they ramped up the difficulty and all that stuff. So yeah, that was fun. I like the Season Discovery because it allows someone who can't play often. Like I normally can't. I can right now, but I normally wouldn't be able to play as much, to actually get to quote unquote max level and actually be able to play a raid and work on getting good gear, as opposed to like having to go all the way to 60 and then do a raid.
Yeah.
So it allows people to raid.
Okay.
And people who normally wouldn't be able to have the time would be allowed to. And then even phase 2 caps out at level 40, which I'm already, me and my brother both are already almost halfway there, or over halfway there, and it's only been out for like a week.
Okay. Nice.
And another new dungeon they made into a raid. So yeah, that's just been fun. But then they also have Wrath. It's currently Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So they have the Classic Vanilla, but they're basically just going through the old expansions again.
Okay.
So it started with the Burning Crusade, and now it's on Wrath of the Lich King. And I have made a character, because I've heard Wrath of the Lich King is one of the best expansions that they did, story-wise. I made a character, and I am currently recording myself play through it, and plan on eventually probably uploading them to YouTube.
The world is waiting.
Yes, so I think
play WoW.
the I have the channel already made. I'm pretty sure it's called the Gaming Bridge. It's like the underscore gaming underscore bridge.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up. I'll look it up during our break, but
Welcome to the Gaming Bridge
Pretty
YouTube
much.
channel.
But I'll be posting on that probably eventually. But you can come and watch me fail miserably at playing Classic WoW because it's significantly harder than retail WoW.
Sounds like high quality entertainment.
You can watch me die. You can watch me run through quests that I've already completed without realizing it. You can watch me figure out that you're watching me figure out the game.
Hijinks ensue.
And pretty much figure out.
Jeremiah tries to play WoW, and hijinks
That's probably what it's going to be. It's a fun time for me, at least. Hopefully people enjoy it. We'll see. I know my thought on it was I'm already going to be playing the game. And me personally, when I'm sitting down playing a game or doing something, I like to watch playthrough videos of people who just ramble.
Right.
So that's pretty much what that is me rambling. I usually don't even talk. I'm not always talking about World of Warcraft.
Now those guys have someone to watch.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah,
Check it out if you want to. Other than that, not much else. Like I said, just a little bit of drawing, and I'm going to do my reread of Stormlight here soon. Gonna start that up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've slowed down on mine. I think I'm a little over halfway through Words of Radiance. I'm like in the 40s chapters wise. But Words of Radiance has more chapters because they're shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has like in the 80s chapters. But anyway, besides that though, I have gotten back into Halo a little bit.
Oh yeah, the new season dropped, right?
Yeah, new season dropped. People who have read the Halo books and like the Halo books, love the lore. A lot of them really don't like the show, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I've played the games. I haven't read the books. I've read some of the lore, but I don't. For some reason, Halo lore doesn't feel as immovable and important for some reason. I don't know why.
It might also just be because if you're like me, while you enjoy Halo, you're not as invested in it as you are like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. So like maybe to us it doesn't feel as immovable, or someone who's like into Halo like we are in Star Wars.
I feel like it's because it's a video game. You like when you see a video game. I don't know. I mean, if it was like, I don't know, it just depends on what video game, I guess. But like when you see a video game adaptation, you kind of expect it to be, not like
the video
shot
game.
for shot, kind of thing. Not that that's what people are asking for. I don't really know all their complaints are. But all that being said, I'm just acknowledging I know that's a thing, but I really enjoyed the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like enjoyed is what I'll say. There's like things that I've not enjoyed in it too. There's aspects of it that I thought they could have done better, but like overall I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, and season 2's been good, but it made me want. I went and looked, in the Master Chief Collection was on sale.
Oh, nice! You
for $10. So
very nice.
So I got it, and I've been playing through Halo Reach because that's canonically like the first game.
That one's the best one.
It is so good. And that's actually season 2 is like heading in that direction of the Halo Reach story, like the fall of Reach at least. Like I don't think it doesn't seem like they're following Noble Team. I don't know if they're going to even mention Noble Team in the show. They might be completely cut out, but just seeing a fall of Reach storyline done on the show, I'm looking forward to that, and it made me want to go back and play the game. So I've been having fun playing Halo Reach, and it's also fun because those games are so old. I can have all the settings on max.
Yes,
and I can just play it fine. But yeah, it's been fun playing that. I'm like 75. It's not a terribly long campaign. I'm like 75% of the way done, I think. But
it's a good one.
It's really
I was wondering. I never really got too much into the Halo stuff. I played some of the games. I like them mainly for the story. But Reach was one that I have very fond memories of playing. I don't even think I ever owned it. I played it with a friend when it came out who owned an Xbox. Yeah. Because I didn't own an Xbox at the time. And I loved it. I was also a Call of Duty kid, so.
Right.
But yeah, I loved Reach. I loved the story. I heard a lot of people who had an issue with the show. A big complaint I heard was that he takes his helmet off too much.
Yeah, that was one. I definitely know that was one. But the reason it didn't did you have more to say about that?
Well, I remember,
Sorry.
I think I saw a clip on Instagram about it, and someone had made a point was like, what needs to be understood is that Halo was a video game, and when you do video games, you tend to want the player to feel like they are the character.
Right.
And so that's why they left him with his helmet on most of the time, is so that he doesn't have a face to, you can't put a face to it, you just have this.
You can see yourself.
You can see yourself as him. Whereas
Right.
TV is way different, where TV has
Right.
to have a protagonist that you want to be able to see and know
Yeah.
and grow with. And so that makes more sense. And it was just an interesting comment that I thought made sense.
Yeah, I know, I agree with that, and that's kind of that was kind of the way I viewed it when I was watching the show. Because the story they're telling, especially in season 1, has a lot to do with, like I think the story of Halo, kind of like the meta story of Halo is like about the Spartan program and about like what happens when you try to create these perfect unstoppable soldiers. You know, what is the like toll on them, you know, that they have to carry that or whatever. That's something that you pick up with more in the later Halo games, but they explore that more because the story becomes more about Master Chief and less about Halo. After Halo 3, you know, the story is more about like Master Chief. And so anyway, so because of that, like, I think that's what the show is trying to do. They're trying to just humanize Master Chief a little bit. He still is like the action scenes are so on point in that show. And he still is a very imposing, formidable, you know, character, just like he is in the games. You know, he just has questions that he's trying to get answered. That he's trying to understand things, what's going on, and has questions about himself and his past and things. I found that a very interesting thing to explore. That the you know, games didn't go as far with. So it's like, why not go further in the show?
Yeah.
You know? I've enjoyed it for sure. So
I'll have to check it out.
There was something, I watched the 3rd episode today. There was something in the episode today that I was like, what it was, but I was like, I don't like that. But I know what they were doing, but it was just a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
What they were trying to do. But anyway. But yeah, so that's that. That's me. What I have to share.
Nice.
So, well, what do you think of the place we're recording in?
I personally love
Cozy.
this place. It's a nice little cozy area in y'all's new house. Josh has like made his own little man cave here, filled with
A small cave, yeah.
small. I mean, we don't need a big
But
one.
enough for one.
Yeah, it's enough for one.
And
but it's got, you know, books, you know, a bunch of fantasy books and a bunch of like Lord of the Rings art poster stuff.
Mm.
You see some Sanderson stuff up. I like you have the all the quotes from Wit from the Secret Project books.
Yeah.
He's got them all cut out and then framed on the wall.
Yep.
And I very much enjoy that. Yeah, I like it in here. It's cozy too. Nice little area to just kind of get some solace.
Yeah,
You
it's
should
nice.
your Fortress of Solitude. That's what Superman's name
Yeah,
is.
I want
right?
to actually. Yeah, I actually want to try to think of a name for it, but I don't know what to. I haven't spent much time thinking that hard about it.
The J Crib. I don't know.
The J Havens.
Not bad. It's not bad.
Just came to me.
You genius.
That's where I'm in the J Havens. I mean, that's where it happens. The magic. But yeah, so we didn't get a chance to go very deep into the secret projects. Not that we're going to go super deep into them, but we did want to kind of do like an episode where we did a little overview of them. And so that is our main topic today. Thank you for tuning in. So how do we want to start with the order they came out? Do we want to rank them and then do them the order?
Let's rank them.
Okay.
I want to know what your ranking is. So, well, real quick, we'll go and say the four. If you don't know, Brandon Sanderson did during COVID wrote 4 novels in secret that he didn't tell anyone about because he's a madman.
Yeah.
If you're a Sanderson fan and don't know that, then I don't know where you've been living.
Like, not tiny novels either.
No, they're like full. I mean, they're not Brandon Sanderson full size novels, but they're like full size regular people novels.
Yeah.
And he has 4 of them. You have Trust of the Emerald Sea.
He actually wrote 5.
I know.
But he didn't publish one of them yet.
Isn't one going to be a graphic novel?
It's going to be a graphic novel.
Yeah. But he wrote Trust of the Emerald Sea. He wrote the Frugal Wizard's Guide. Oh, Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England.
Yeah.
Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and the Sunlit Man. 3 of those are Cosmere related, and this one of them is not. You can determine which one is not.
Yeah. And they all came out last year over the course of the year, every quarter, and the Sanderson's team, they did their best to keep all the titles secret until the release.
Yep.
Just in case people wanted to just maximize that, like
you could find them if you wanted to,
right?
But if you wanted to keep it all secret, then they like had the names as just Secret Project 1,
right,
or Secret Project 2 on like Amazon until they were finally released.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say right off the bat, I have not read the Frugal Wizard's Handbook. I've read like 5 chapters of it or something like that. So
I will say as the 4, that one's mine. That one's the lowest. For me.
I anticipate. Yeah, I really think that I would rank that lowest too, regardless, just because the other ones are Cosmere, and I really do like the other ones too. So the other 3. So I'll just put it at the bottom, but with a little asterisk by it for me to say I didn't fully finish it, but and I would like to at some point, because I was actually going through it today looking at some of the art. The art is really fun, and like it's a very fun, it's a very fun book with like just different in-world, like pages that are made to look like you're reading a newspaper or
a handbook
or a pamphlet or something.
It is definitely it's of the 4, it's probably the most, well, I don't want to say it's the most fun. It seems like one of those sillier ones that he's written. For sure. And it obviously it's not part of the Cosmere, so there's not really any stakes either. I mean, there are for the book.
Right.
But, like, not really,
Right. But, I keep coming, and I don't know if it's because it's the first one I read and it was the first experience, but Tress of the Emerald Sea, I think is my top.
Okay.
I loved it when I read it. I've been rereading it with Aaron. And feel like maybe I just clicked with it the most. After that, it's tough because like the Sunlit Man was one I had read all the sample chapters before the book came out. I knew, some of the Cosmere implications for it because of like the main character, and so it was my most anticipated, and I think that affected how I experienced it, when I was reading it, because I was reading it at a breakneck speed, and I was like I was just listening for Cosmere connections. I was listening for what happens to Bridge 4, what happens to Kaladin,
probably should mention minor spoilers for the secret projects.
Yeah, minor to major.
Minor to major.
So if you don't want to know anything, if you haven't read them yet, I'll just put that in front of somewhere in front of the discussion. But yes, there's just things like that I was looking for. So it's hard to know where I'm leaning is Yumi ahead of Sunlit Man.
Okay.
Is where I'm leaning. So that would be Tress, Yumi, Sunlit Man, and then Frugal Wizard.
And for those of you wondering, we are also sitting here just staring at the 4 books stacked on top of each other right now in the order they're released.
Very beautiful.
And it is, the Kickstarter, he did a Kickstarter for them. And I think the Kickstarter versions are obviously, they're different than the ones on Amazon. Right. I don't even know if the ones on Amazon have the artwork in them.
I think they have far less artwork.
Yes.
I definitely don't think they have like the full color, like,
because as a thing that Sanderson did, each secret novel he basically gave to an artist. He gave certain sections to, and he was like, go ahead and make some artwork for this. 2 of them are from artists that he has on staff with him or that work with him often. I think 2 are other ones that they kind of just found. So there's a lot of, it's artwork heavy books. There's a lot of artwork, which is I love.
Well, they're leather bounds.
But the ones for, the Kickstarter have all the artwork in it and they're leather bound and just look so pretty.
Yeah.
But as far as my ranking, Frugal Wizard, prior to these rankings, I enjoyed all of them.
Right.
Frugal Wizard was the lowest for me. And I think it was probably because it wasn't Cosme related. It's still a good book.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think it gripped me as much as as the others did.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still enjoyable to read. The artwork in it was fun. It was the artwork. It looked silly in a lot of places. Like it was silly in a good way. Like it was more goofy.
Right.
I don't mean silly like it was bad, but like
right. Fun, silly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think next, as number 3, I'm putting Yumi in the Nightmare Painter.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. Like a lot. I just liked the other 2 more.
Uh-huh.
I just liked Tress and Sunlit Man more. I really liked the story for Yumi. I liked the characters. I liked the incorporation of art in the story.
Right. That was
as an artist myself.
Thing in the story for sure.
Now my top 2, I'm actually going to put Tress as my second one.
Okay.
Tress was the first one I read. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. It was so fun. Finding out that Hoyd was the narrator was hilarious. His little inputs in the story make it so much better.
Yeah.
The impact that some of the scenes do have on the Cosme are interesting. I also really like that fact that because Hoyd's a narrator, he says things in it and he just drops it like it's normal, but then you're like, wait a minute, I don't know what that is. Should I know what that is? Is that important?
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it just really funny. That being said, The Sunlit Man is just more my type of a book.
Uh-huh.
It was pure action through and through. And as Josh kind of hinted earlier, it does have to do with a character from the Stormlight Archive, which is my favorite Sanderson series probably right now, Stormlight Archive. And so that one was so good. I just enjoyed it so much. The action, the story, the character, the world that he was on. It was interesting. That, and I mean, he sold me as soon as I looked at the book. I mean, it's red and the pages are black. I mean, that is just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my order.
Okay.
What do you say we go down?
Down by publication order?
Yeah, let's go by publication order and talk about it. Let's give a little overview of each.
So Tress is about a girl.
Whoa.
Yeah. It has a horrible name. It's not Tress. I forget what her name is, but she has at the first 2 pages or something.
Does it really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's so quick that it's literally in the description of her where it's whatever her horrible name is, and then but people called her Tress because of her hair. It might be on the first page. Glorf. It is literally on the first page. Yeah, that's why you don't remember.
It literally says the girl had been given the unfortunate name of Glorf upon her birth. In parentheses, don't judge it. It was a family name. But her wild hair earned her the name everyone knew her by, Tress.
So you start off. She starts off on this island, and it's just like a normal island. She has no desire to leave the island, seemingly.
She's just your general girl that just likes to stay at home, stay on her island, help her family out. Yeah. But she does have a crush on this boy.
Right. And, but she's not noble, and he is a nobleman. And when his father finds out, or can't stop them from getting together, essentially decides he's going to quote unquote marry him off. But he makes this, I don't want to give the whole story away. Basically, without giving away the storyline, he ends up in danger, and she's like, I have to go save him. So the story is about her trying to go save him.
And mind you, we should add to that, because this is a Brandon Sanderson novel, it's not just a regular island and regular ocean. These oceans are like spore oceans. Yeah. They're filled with these spores. Each spore, when they come in contact with actual water, do have a certain magical property that happens. Yep. And there's a thing, is it 7? Is it 8 seas? 10 seas? I don't remember how many.
I think there are. I think there are 8. I think you're right.
I think it's 8 seas.
But we only see like 4 in
4.
the book.
But they all do different.
Yeah.
Obviously, they all do different things.
Spores come from moons. Like there's these
Yes.
moons. The moons are in orbit very close to the planet, and so they like drop spores. But the they're locked, like they're orbitally locked or something like that. So literally, it's like you go to one part of the planet, and there's only spores from this one moon. You know, so different colored spores in every part of the planet. So it's a very interesting thing because there's like this effect of this churning that happens, which is actually like a scientific, really real thing called fluidization. That we have these air bubbles that come up through these spores from beneath somehow, and it creates this liquid effect where it's like these ships float and they sail, and so it's very fun because it's like a has a lot of piratey themed stuff, but they're literally sailing on sand.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Is the pirate theme to it. What makes it an added little thing too is that like sometimes the air pressure coming through the sand stops, and so the boats just stop in the middle.
Yeah,
and like you can actually go walk on the sand like normal.
Right.
And if you're curious, go look it up, like aerization of sand or fluidization or whatever. Yeah. It's really. I didn't know it was legit until I think Brandon Sanderson posted a YouTube video about it.
Yeah, he did a video with someone.
It's an actual thing, and like they'll push certain air that does something to the sand that literally can like it'll put a ball under it and it'll shoot back up like it's in water and float, and it's really cool.
Yeah. So like you said, Brandon Sanderson fashion, great, fun world building. The narration by Hoyd in it is, I feel like, I would say it's the most pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
He's very much a character. The narrator is very much a character that's with you throughout the whole story.
Which, mind you, Hoyd is in the story too,
right?
But he's incapacitated in a way.
Yeah.
So he's not like a main character, but he is the narrator. So like he becomes important at the very end.
There's like, there's what's going on with him is important in the sense that Hoyd's important for the Cosmere. So it's like, that it's got to be dealt with.
Yeah.
But, it's the main story is about Tress trying to save Charlie. And she meets a rat that talks.
Love me a talking rat. This book was very fairy tale-esque, very Cinderella or Disney fairy tale type story, just the way it was told and everything happening in it.
I liked getting to see more like stuff with Aether, because Aether is like a magic thing that we haven't seen much in his books, and so like she uses Midnight Essence or Midnight Aether, which is like we learned about a new bond that can be formed. You have the nail bond is what in Stormlight books, that's the bond between a Spren and a Knight's Radiant. Then you have this Lul bond that forms between you whenever you're trying to control this Midnight Aether spores, where it's literally taking water from you. So that was interesting to see that kind of stuff be used. And any other thoughts on? The
only thing I'd say is if this book right here is a really good one if you haven't read Sanderson before and are very daunted to read Sanderson.
Yeah,
this is a good starting point.
Right. This
is a standalone book. Obviously, like I said, there are things that are like Hoyd's the narrator, so there's obviously be things thrown in there that like you might go over your head, but they're not important, at least to this story, and it doesn't ruin the story. And I don't even know if there's really that much. There are some things at the end that like you won't really fully understand unless you know the rest of the Cosmere. Right. But like once again, it doesn't ruin the story, and it's not necessarily important to the story. This one's just a lot easier to read. It's a lot more whimsical than his other stuff. Some of his other stuff is pretty dark, and it can be dark and heavy. Dark and heavy in like not like a grim dark way, but in like they're just pretty serious stories. So yeah, if you're curious about reading Sanderson and are just daunted by his 1,000-page books like most people are, this one is with this version. That's the leather bound version. It's only 475 pages.
The I've purchased the other version, the Tor version, the one that Tor released, which is also a nice cover, and it's definitely not. It's definitely smaller.
Probably close to like 300 something, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely like less than 400.
So a lot easier to pick up and just read.
But yeah. But yeah, I love that book. I love the way it ended. There was a point where near the ending where I was like, "Oh no," and I wasn't gonna be happy with the ending. And thankfully, it wasn't the ending I thought it was gonna be. Or
you'll have to tell me about that later. Because I don't know if I know what you're talking about.
I mean, well, how in depth are we now?
You'll just tell me about it. You can tell me about it later.
Okay.
We'll let the guest wonder the guest.
But yeah, so that's Tress, and I think Brandon also has started recommending that as a good starting point.
Start point. Mm-hmm. I just think it is mainly because it's just a smaller book.
My wife has been enjoying it very much.
It's very good.
So, I mean, we're more than halfway done. It's taking us a long way to get there, but that's just because it's just hard to sit down and read.
It's also harder. I don't know. I think it takes longer to read out.
It does
out loud. At least for me, it does.
Yeah. So then you have Frugal Wizard's Handbook, which I'll have to lean on you for.
This is his one non-Cosme related secret project he did, and it's still sci-fi and it's still fantasy. It's definitely like a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. This one, because technically the main character is in a world that is in the future, but he is but he is time traveling in a sense, or not? No, it's not time traveling. It's a different timeline. It's a parallel universe or timeline type thing.
It's like a multiverse,
but also back in time.
Yeah, it's like that multiverse is past.
Yes.
Yeah. Or that multiverse hasn't like developed or something.
Something along those lines. And
it's a very interesting concept.
And it's cool because it's like, talks about how to be a medieval or a wizard.
Yeah.
In this timeline. But that's not because they have magic, it's because they have science. So like I said, it's very science fiction. So a lot of things that he's learning about that he can do. Now, mind you, the plot is that he doesn't remember any of this. Like he doesn't remember being in that time. He doesn't know what's going on.
Because he bought like the McDonald's version.
Yeah, something happened. I don't remember exactly what it is. You learn there's more to it. There's actually, the story is pretty interesting as to how he got there. And like there's more to it than just him buying the McDonald's version.
Okay. That's what I thought it was.
But he learns that he basically has, and he gets his memories back throughout the book. Like the first couple, he doesn't even know his name for the first couple chapters. Right. But he gets all that back, and he slowly gains his memories back as it goes. But he gets these powers, but these powers aren't from magic in the sense of like fantasy. It's from like they have like nanites in their skin, so he can be like indestructible, or he can like do different things. So he's like using this to woo the people around him. But then kind of come to find out that this world kind of does have magic a little bit. Okay. If I remember correct, I read it when it first was released, like at the beginning of the year, so I don't remember fully. But if I remember correctly, like there is like some form of like spirit type thing happening there, which he's like gets confused about. But yeah, it's overall it's good. It's enjoyable to read. It took me a bit to get into it, because it wasn't what I was expecting.
I just remember really being cracked up by he's like raiding a tree, and he doesn't understand why he's raiding a tree, but he just is rated like he's like 3 out of 5 stars or whatever.
Oh yes, he just does. That is throughout the entirety of the book, and that was the funniest thing is he will just do Yelp reviews basically. Yeah. Of like these guys did this 1 out of 5 stars, and I think that is like continuous throughout the whole book. It's pretty funny.
I'm in favor of that.
No, definitely enjoyable. You give it a read. It's definitely not, if you're looking for Cosmere, you ain't gonna get it there. But
I heard people kind of comparing it to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I've also never read.
But from what I've heard of it, I think it is supposed to be kind of similar.
So maybe if you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you might like Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England.
Long title.
Yeah.
Brandon's like, how can I just make it harder on them?
All right.
But next we got Yumi and the Nightmare Painter.
Great title.
Wonderful title.
Very evocative title.
And very descriptive of the book
Yeah.
without realizing it.
Oh my word, yeah.
I didn't realize it when I first read it, but it literally is very descriptive of the actual book.
Yeah. The way the book is kind of like organized, like constructed,
Mhm.
where it's like you have two main characters, and you start out of the book, you're kind of going back and forth between them, and they're very different, in very different, like seemingly very different planets or, worlds or whatever. But then at some point, they start to interact, through the storyline.
Yeah, this is very much a body swap
Right.
book where
Freaky
Friday-esque, but like at the same time of like when the one person's in the other person's body, the other person's there with them, but as a spirit, kind of. Like they're not actually. Oh wait, no. In Yumi's world, he's like a spirit, where no one can see him.
No. In Yumi's world, he looks like Yumi.
Yes.
He literally looks like Yumi in Yumi's world, but in his world, they can't see him, but like she looks like either Yumi or
that's
a
right.
girl.
They can't when they're
like a girl version.
When they're in the other person's world, they're basically that person, but the main person can't be seen. It's like in Yumi's world, Yumi can't be seen. She's like a spirit,
right?
And then vice versa with Painter,
right? But Yumi at least got to be a girl in Painter's world, but he had to be.
Yes, for some reason, and for some reasons that you find out later on in the book, Painter, when he's in Yumi's world, is exactly like Yumi, looks exactly like her, everything like that, has to go through all of her stuff, whereas Yumi, in a Painter's world, looks like
a girl.
Looks like Yumi.
Yeah.
And you figure out why later on.
Very convoluted Brandon Sanderson magic system way.
But that also the body swap aspect made it for a very interesting and funny tale as well. These are definitely, all these books are more comical, except for the last one.
Yeah.
The Sunlit Man was definitely more serious one. But yeah, I mean, it just makes for a comical time, makes interesting of trying to get the characters to interact with each other and learn and about each other's world and everything like that. It's fun. That
was the biggest twist to me. That had the biggest twist, like the ending there was a very big twist. I could not have predicted. Like when I was reading Yumi and then I were painting, I was literally like, I have no idea like where exactly like where this is going, like how is this all going to wrap up, and then like just my mind's getting blown at the end, and then
it's definitely a bit of a mind trippy one. And then he does a couple of like feints here and there that kind of make you think one thing.
Right. Yeah. There's like,
but then also
there's two epilogues, I'll just say.
But then also leaves things open to like, I want to know about this other thing that you were mentioning.
Right.
Because there is something else, other things that are mentioned that like he kind of uses like a feint that you're like, well, now I want to know about this.
Definitely mentions a shard that was splintered, I think.
I think so.
In this one, and that we hadn't necessarily had accounted for, I don't think. So that was an interesting thing. It's like, oh, okay.
Hoyt is the narrator of this one again.
Yeah. He's not as pronounced.
He is not as pronounced in this one, and he's also not as important of a character in this one. Actually, he's a statue the entire time. But
he is.
His Spren is in the book and is a relatively big character.
And does not look like a Spren.
It does not look like a Spren, which is interesting. It looks like a person.
Yeah, that was definitely a very fun and interesting cameo. That one had a lot of fun stuff too, just like with the not references, but there's definitely a very like Japanese like hints at like that kind of culture.
Yes.
In that world, which was fun, I think. As well, noodle shops and all that good stuff. But yeah, that was a fun one. And I really there's romance there too, so I really thought the romance was done well.
And I did like his romance in this one. Thought it was done very well. And then we get to the Sunlit Man, which is his most serious of the four.
Tell us about Sunlit Man.
Oh, this one was a ride. It starts fast and it ends fast. Pretty much nonstop the entire time. But your main character is called Nomad. And if you read the other Cosmere books, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you read the other Cosmere books, you can get context clues pretty quickly, and you learn by the end that he is a character that you do know.
Yeah.
From one of his series, But yeah, you're this book takes place I'm assuming pretty far in the future of those books.
Yeah, that's my
Most of
opinion
these,
as well.
actually, all of three of them, I think, take place pretty far
Yeah.
in the future of the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, I think that was intentional. I think he's trying to develop the like science and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on where the Cosmere is going, get us ready for it, and definitely touched on that Summon Yumi very much in Sunlit Man.
Yes. And even Triss had a little bit of it too at the end.
Mentioning. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, you follow this guy Nomad, and he ends up on this planet. He like jumps to this planet.
Yeah, like he can skip.
I think that's what it's called, skipping. And so, if you know normal Sanderson travel, it's usually through Shadesmar,
right,
to different worlds, which is it's known, it's happened. People do it. There's a lot of world travelers, but he's doing it through this thing called skipping, which we've never heard of before, don't know anything about. But long story short, I don't think it's much of a spoiler because it's mentioned pretty early, but he did at one point hold a Dawn Shard, this character, which is why he has all these weird powers. But because of it, he can't fight. Like, he can't attack anybody, which, if you know Hoyd, is very similar to Hoyd,
right? Who
also can't like actively fight anybody. And it has to do with having held this Dawn Shard.
Yeah, something about it, like fighting, goes against the intent or essence of whatever that Dawn Shard was. And so holding it like warps their soul or something like that to the point where it's like they lock up. At least I don't remember if Hoyd locks up, but
this character definitely does.
Nomad locks up if he tries to attack. So he has to like figure out ways around it, be very defensive, and that's an ongoing thing throughout the book, which at times is frustrating, but it definitely keeps the tension high and makes it interesting to see how he works through that. He has a very interesting relationship with a weapon thing that can change shapes and things like that. Very much reminds you of
hint, hint, nudge, nudge
of something in another series, but there's that's an interesting thing that's going on in the book too. You're like
yeah, like, huh.
Anyway,
which, mind you, that character made the book in a very serious book, made it more comical. Was that character? His name's Auxiliary,
right?
And because he calls Nomad his valet,
yeah,
and like it's like he's riding him, and it's hilarious. Just their interactions are really funny,
right?
And it's because I won't say that. You learn that there's some of his personality is lost because of something that happened.
Right.
But yeah, it's just so good. Like I said, there's a lot of action. Now, this character is on the run from a group that we
he held the Dawn Shard.
Because he held the Dawn Shard. And I think it's a group that we don't really know much about now.
No, we don't. I mean, it's a group that
I think we
just learn about from the book.
Basically. Is it the same group that's hinted at in, or kind of talked about a little bit in The Lost Metal, that was supposed to travel through to?
I don't think so.
I thought it was.
No, I don't think so, but who knows? I thought the group in Lost Metal was someone else, maybe from Roshar, but
it might be. It might be.
But this group are actually, I think, related to the people. The people on, I forget all the what was the name of their ship in this book, Sunlit Man.
I don't remember the name of it.
I don't either. Well, anyway, I think that so like he meets up with, it's got a little bit of a Western feel too, because the people that he talks with, they have like names like their names.
Brandon Sanderson's names are becoming, I think he's running out of names, and so he's just making up some of them. Jeffrey's in this.
I love Ad Nauseam. We'll remember our plight eventually.
Yes. Oh yeah, there's some funny names. Another one of those like little things that he does in there to kind of give some levity to a book that's a little bit more serious.
Right. But there's this group, these people that are very much survivors. They've come from a planet where that's very hostile, and so. But there's the Night Brigade. I think they're related. I think they're like descended from the same people.
Oh, you know, I think you're right.
There's just the whole thing with the torment, where he can't fight, and where he's also got the interesting thing with Auxiliary, which I always like that kind of like a voice in your head kind of
Mhm.
relationship thing going on. And when you and also just knowing his identity and seeing where he's at in his as a person, his struggles with, you know,
Everything.
just looking out for himself versus others, where it's just it's definitely a much more heavy
Mhm.
story, which is very in keeping with the series that it's adjacent to, you know?
Yeah, it's making me
Um,
very excited to read more of that series too, to see what
yeah.
happened, how this character gets into this place.
Brandon has said, I mean, if I can say this and gives a little bit away, but Brandon has said this book is meant to be read before Stormlight 5,
Sweet.
which just makes me excited for Stormlight 5.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we're going to get some stuff that will help us craft theories for what happened.
Oh, can't wait.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets, dropped in this book, and
Yeah, this one is one of the more heavier Cosmere
yeah.
related stuff. It does drop a lot, hints at a lot.
Anything else you want to say about Sunlit Man? I would like to do a ranking of like the Hoyd cameos.
Let's do it.
If you want to do it. So, how would you rank? Or do you want me to rank them? Do my ranking?
Tress is number one. The cameo.
Tress is okay. Yeah,
Just the whole
he has
the whole
no
book,
sense.
The whole book is a cameo. He has no sense in the book throughout the entirety of it. But and like I was mentioned earlier, that there's artwork in it, which we'll talk about at one point. But I think Tress has my favorite piece of artwork ever made for a Cosmere book, and it has to do with Hoyd. And I'm not going to spoil it because you just need to look at it. It's hilarious, and it's very well done.
Maybe our episode where we talk about the art, this is mild spoilers. We can do more major spoilers in that one.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go ahead and you got a little overview of the books here. We'll give pretty major spoilers for the next, and when we end up talking about the artwork.
Yeah.
Because there are some spoilers in the artwork too.
So where do you put the next two Hoyd cameos? Like which one? I mean,
I'm gonna put the Sunlit Man next because he plays because we learn a little bit more about him and the main character and the Nomad through his interaction.
Right.
It's not a big one. He's not like the narrator of this book. He's not like a main character of it, but he is important, and he does make a cameo. And then I'll put Yumi next because he's there, and it's funny because he's a statue.
Right.
And I really like his Spren. I think she's hilarious, but I just think the other two are better.
I think I agree with you. I think I would rank him the same, honestly, because he is much more of a presence in Tress, both as a narrator and as a character. It's just like the whole scene where he's struggling with, what he's struggling with in that book, and trying to figure out how to like help without helping and all that sort of thing. It's just like a lot of fun stuff like that happens in that book. And then the Sunlit Man was just seeing him more somber.
It was a more classic Hoyd interaction.
It was classic. He started to try, but yeah, I won't say exactly what happened. I appreciated where Hoyd was at as a character in that scene, and the clear, like, just the way they interacted really told you a lot had happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a lot of gravity to their interaction. And actually he the character mistaked Hoyd for someone else first, which that got me.
Yeah, that definitely got me.
When I was like, oh, he thought, oh my gosh, what does that even mean?
Yeah, for real. What does it mean?
But the Yumi one was funny too, because he was, I'm just going to say it. She spray painted him copper because he froze.
Oh, yeah.
So she spray painted him copper, and then people just started using him as a coat rack. And so he's literally having coats flung on him.
I also just love that this happened, but she's just sitting there running a noodle shop.
So she's just like, starts running a noodle shop.
She just doesn't care, which is amazing.
Time to kill when you're Hoyd. Yeah. So definitely a lot of fun, a very successful year for Sanderson, year of Sanderson. But yeah, go out and read them if you I think Yumi, in the Nightmare Painter, I think there's definitely more in there for Cosmere. Like there's maybe more in there that you would appreciate more if you've read some of the other books, but I think Yumi could be also a good standalone.
Agreed. I think it's good. It's a good. I think Sunlit Man is gonna be a little bit harder for others to understand because there's a lot of things that are dropped that you're just not gonna understand, and it might pull you out of the story a little bit.
Right.
The story itself is really good, but because of the other aspects involved that are important to the main character, it might pull you out. But Yumi and I agree. I think it's got its own standalone story.
Yeah,
it's got its own stuff going on. It's you won't really understand the Hoyd and his friend situation, but that's not even that important to the story at all.
Right.
She's just a character in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are wrapping up, so we're planning on talking about some of the artwork next time, and I guess we'll get into a little bit of some major spoilers as well. Talk more about our deeper thoughts on some of those things, and look forward to being back. So
see you next time.
This has been the Bridge of Two podcast.
A far, far away bridge.
Oh,
wow, you just...
I didn't say. I was like, oh, that's his part. Like I forgot that.
No, we
do it
together.
I'm sorry.